Today, that change did come. The company will sell its UK and US construction businesses in a bid to unlock $4.5 billion. The company will take a write-down in the value of its businesses of close to $1.5 billion potentially, and will buy back $500 million worth of its own shares. As I said, already close on 1,000 jobs have gone from Lendlease, and with the sale of its overseas operations, another 1,400 or so will go. Well, Tanara Capital's John Wiley today welcomed the changes and said it's great to see the company prioritising investor returns. Today, a little earlier, I sat down with Lendlease's Chief Executive, Tony Lombardo, and just asked him if the strategy is to shrink to greatness.
But today's strategy, there's four key things. We're exiting our international construction business. It's been a low-returning business. It belongs in the hands as a going concern to someone else who can really run that quite well. And we're actually progressing the sale of the US, and we're getting the UK ready. We're accelerating releasing our capital in our offshore development parts of the business. Now, that's across 17 key projects. 8 of those we're going to complete. Then we're going to look at realising asset land sales and accelerating that capital back for our security holders. That's some $4.5 billion of capital coming back to invest back into our developments here in Australia and really grow the platform back here in our home market. And in this, finally, we're reducing our cost base. We're taking another $125 million out in costs on top of the $320 we've already done. We reduced our workforce since FY21 by some 30%. Today's actions is another 35% reduction. I believe the business is going to be a simpler business, a focused business on Australia, focusing on what we're great at and growing that business back.
As I said, shrink to greatness.
In a way, we're shrinking the business, but to stay focused.
But to also get better returns.
That's right. And
that's been the criticism, hasn't it?
That has been. We haven't delivered the returns our security holders expected of us. And so today's announcements are very much focused on delivering that right returns. As I called out, that Australian business has generated a 15% return. When you look at that business in isolation, it's a great performing, leading Australian real estate company. And so the focus is back on what we're really good at and growing that into the future.
Okay, just in regards to selling off the construction businesses in the US and also the UK, they're tough businesses. Even here in Australia, construction is tough. Another business has gone broke today. Just explain why those two can basically be sold off and yet the Australian one you think can flourish.
Well, a couple of things. We recently announced a new joint venture in Asia. It's a life sciences joint venture with Warburg Pincus. In that, we're housing 200 of our construction people, and it was also our investment management and development. We managed to extract a significant multiple that came out of that, extracting value for our security holders. We anticipate doing a similar thing by exiting the US and UK. The margins across the US and UK were about 0.6% in terms of EBITDA margins.
You can't make any money out of construction in either of those places right now.
It's very low. But there are others who may be in the private market looking to buy those platforms because we've got talented people in those businesses that will sell as a going concern. Our Australian operations deliver a 3% EBITDA margin. So it's a higher returning business. It's part of our bigger integration play where we do the big developments like Barangaroo we're sitting out here today. It helps the execution. It's helped grow part of the funds under management. So it adds a lot of value to the investment, development and construction as one together.
Okay, so if the Australian government is to achieve its aim of building 1.2 million homes, it needs companies like Lendlease to be robust and also to be able to make a profit when you build those homes. Are you a part of the solution or part of the problem?
I agree, Russ. We're part of the solution. We're aiming to focus our attention on Australia. We're looking at those urban regeneration projects, which I believe Lendlease is great at. Things like we've done previously, like Darling Quarter, like Barangaroo, we'll be aiming to really drive those into the future. So I believe we can help the government deliver what they need to deliver in affordable housing, in new build-to-rent stock, in build-to-sell stock. All those things are there to increase supply and ultimately take pressure off rents and provide that right accommodation for people in the future here in Australia.
So ahead of this announcement, Lendlease has been sharply criticised by some of its major shareholders, Alan Gray, and also by Tanara Capital, John Wiley, in regards to many of the strategies that you've now addressed. I noticed that today, John Wiley, Tanara Capital, have come out and said that they welcome the change of the company. There's one criticism, though, that they have had. They've made it to me that this company, Lendlease, is arrogant. That's something which just simply a corporate restructure does not easily fix. That comes down to you as the Chief Executive.
Well, culture comes from how the organisation operates, and we've got a deep DNA in really delivering those right sustainable and safety outcomes for our customers. A couple of things I'm proud of. From a customer perspective, we recently had our customer surveys. We scored a 7.9, which is a very high customer score, and that maintained 2 years straight. And when I'm talking to our customers, they can see we're focused on them, delivering the right outcomes and delivering the performance. From a people perspective, we've had a 30% reduction in our workforce over the last 3 years.
So do you think that creates a bit of humility in an organisation?
It does, because we're having to really focus. And that first wave was about 1,100 roles that were lost were through productivity. And therefore, that's a big change. There's been anxiety, there's been uncertainty. Today's announcement's another 35% of people leaving the business.
So is that even your message as Chief Executive to your people? Because you can see how quickly corporate reputation is lost in Australia if the company does not get these things right.
Well, we're doing a few things. We've got to deliver the right security holder returns to have the right to continue to grow and invest in the platforms we want to grow.
Shares down, what, 50% over the past 3 to 5 years, something like that?
The shares have been down, and as I said, it's been a poor outcome for our security holders. The actions we've taken today are about improving that financial performance and setting the business up for many, many years to come. I think from a culture perspective, I'm very keen to ensure we are become a performance culture. That's been the transition. It doesn't happen overnight, but there is a leadership team that we are focused on really delivering the right returns for our security holders, the right outcomes for our customers, and making sure our people are excited to come to work at Lendlease on great iconic projects that we deliver.
Okay, so the next Sydney Opera House, the next Barangaroo, the next big project in Australia, is Lendlease in the sort of shape now to be able to undertake that?
I believe we are. We've got a very talented group of people. I announced today there's some $40 billion worth of projects across the east coast of Australia. On those 40, about 13 billion, we're well placed. On some of those, we're 1 or 2. So I'm pretty excited about winning that next future wave of work that's going to actually demonstrate that we continue to be this great iconic company here in our home market of Australia.
Tony Lombardo, good to chat to you today. Many thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Ross.